Good morning, friends, and welcome to another week and another episode of PB Reads the Bible. Today is Tuesday, July 5th, so it's not only a new week, it's a new month since we last sat together to read the Bible in this way. And this is PB Reads the Bible, as I said, and this is episode 21 on our journey through 1 Samuel. Who's PB? Why is it called that? I'm Pastor Brian, pastor here at Christ United Methodist Church in Waynesboro, PA. And I am so glad that you have joined me this morning, that we are together in this way, across distance and across time, because although it's Tuesday morning for me, it may not be for you. I know some folks, you can't be here live with me, so you're joining at other times. We're still together, which is truly amazing stuff. But anyway, we're here to read the Bible, and like I said, to continue our journey through the book of 1 Samuel. Excuse me one moment. Don't want my phone ringing while I'm talking to you while I'm reading the Bible. Hopefully you got the message on Sunday, because that I posted here. And that you hopefully didn't show up yesterday expecting me to be here reading, and I wasn't. I forgot about the holiday. Figured give everybody the long weekend, so to speak. But we're back today, and we are going to look at chapter 22. We're on episode 21, which means we're going to be reading chapter 22, because there was one day when we did 2 chapters at once, but we're back to just 1 chapter a day. So let's get into it. I don't really have any announcements for today. We'll be back tomorrow and Thursday as usual. So I might have an announcement tomorrow or Thursday, I don't know, but we're just going to jump into it today and do chapter 22. Chapter 22 is 2 stories, or 2 pieces of stories to create this chapter. One of which is sort of a pickup from a few days ago. There was somebody mentioned in it, from the last chapter, from chapter 21, and it's important to remember back to what happened in that chapter. But that's the second story for today. But go ahead and check in. I'm losing my mind here or something. I forgot to suggest that you do that. Go ahead and check in. Let me know who you are and what's going on, because I only see a number, and I see a number, but I don't see who it is. So here we are. Thank you, Maureen, because it was because I saw your comment, your thing, that I was able to. That's what reminded me to make that announcement. Good morning. And so good morning. It was a beautiful weekend. It truly was. And so far it's a gorgeous day outside. I know we're supposed to get rain later, but so far this is a lovely day right now. And so anybody else out there, go ahead and chime in, say hello, say good morning. You can also do it through texting, 570-351-1619. You can send me a text. So if I look to the left, it's because you're sending me a comment through Facebook or YouTube. I'm able to see that now. At least I think I am. And if I look to my right, it's because I'm checking out my phone, because you're sending me a text. Same thing for for whatever we need to be in prayer with each other about. So anything that you wanted to lift up or share this morning, go ahead and put that in the comment section, or send me a text if you wanted it to be a little bit more private. But we're a small group, so we share life together. And one of the things that means is praying for one another, for our concerns. So go ahead and do that. John and Cindy checking in. Good morning to the both of you today. Hey, Cindy, I was going to set up tonight with a Zoom option so that you didn't have to make it down here. But I've actually heard from several others that they can't make it. So I'm probably going to be postponing the meeting. So look for an email about that. But for right now, don't worry about any meetings tonight. You're not going to miss anything for sure. And I do pray that everything worked out well for the two of you over the weekend. That there were no issues. Good stuff. All right. So as others join us or sign in, excuse me, again, I might look, and for some reason, sometimes I don't see your posts until after I end the video and go back in there. And particular for one person, for some reason, all of a sudden, it's been happening very regularly. So Cheryl, if you're there, good morning. Otherwise, you'll be seeing me like your comment later on. And I don't know why that's happening. I don't know why that's happening. It's weird. And it is only since I got my new computer. I don't know if that's part of it. If that's a connection or not. I don't see why that would be. And why it would only be the one. So anyway, let's get to it then, shall we? Chapter 22. Chapter 22. And here we go. And just as a reminder, from where we were, David is fleeing. David is fleeing. He is escaping, and we're going to see where he goes next. He went to Nob, and he visited with a priest there, got some food, got weapons, and now he is continuing to escape. Oh, okay. Good, Cindy. They got moved in. Good. John has an appointment this afternoon. Prayers over that, John. Prayers over that. And I know what I think anyway, I know what your hopes are, that things will happen quickly. We do too. We do too. All right. So that's where we are. David has been fleeing from Saul. So, and so far he's been by himself. Is that going to continue? Is that going to continue? Continuing. David left there, I shouldn't say continuing, picking up chapter 22, verse 1. David left there and escaped to the cave of Adullam, where when his brothers and all his father's house heard of it, they went down there to him. Pause. Where is the cave of Adullam? We don't know. We really don't know. Best we can do is kind of assume that it's somewhere in Judah, in the land of Judah, the southern part of what will become Israel. And that's important to remember, because, and why do we say that? Well, because that's where David and his family were from. They're from the southern portion. And since David apparently, it would seem, presumably been able to communicate with his family, and they were able to join him. And why did they do that? Well, I think the author is doing two different things, and not only I, but others think the same thing. One, David must have communicated with them out of concern, because if there's a problem with, if Saul has a problem with David, Saul probably also has a problem with the rest of the family. And so since David is in danger, his family is in danger. We can presume that not only from this, but from something that happens just in a couple of verses from now. It's also quite possible or probable that the author is saying this to help to demonstrate the support that David has from his family. Now we can remember from just a few chapters ago, from the incident with Goliath, how his brother, at least one of his brothers, thought he was trying to get too big for his britches. What are you doing here? And what, I know what you're thinking, and all that kind of stuff. But we don't see any of that. We don't see anything beyond that as far as disagreements between David and his brothers. So that kind of thing seems to merely be a case of older brother, younger brother, a little bit of rivalry going on. But when, oh, hey, he's my brother, and if you're coming after him, you're coming after me, and I'm on his side, that kind of thing is now what we're seeing from his brothers. They all go to join David. They all go to join David in this cavern. Continuing, picking up verse 2, everyone who was in distress and everyone who was in debt and everyone who was discontented gathered to him, and he became captain over them. Those who were with him numbered about 400. Pause. What does this mean? David is gathering an entourage. He's gathering a mini army. And the author is very specific about the kind of people that are joining up with David. Those who are on the outsides, those who are, as it says, discontent. We can think back to the early chapters when Saul was made king, that there were rabble rousers who weren't happy, and said, "Can this man deliver us? Can this man save us?" We can see that, well, maybe we can't see for sure, but we can kind of presume that those are the people, or the types of people, who are now joining up with David. And so there seems to be virtually setting up, or explaining what kind of people are supporting David and what kind of people are supporting Saul. It's almost like a socioeconomic class struggle. David is being supported by those on the outsides, those who are pushed down, and those who are lower than the rest, versus who Saul is. We remember how recently Saul refuses to use David's name, calls him the son of Jesse, and refers to him as a Bethlehemite or whatever. So he's looking down upon him. So in David, these people seem to see a similar figure, a person more like them. And so they are supporting David. Continuing, David went from there, from the cave, to Mizpah of Moab. He said to the king of Moab, "Please let my father and mother come to you until I know what God will do for me." He left them with the king of Moab, and they stayed with him all the time that David was in the stronghold. Pause. What's the stronghold? Where's the stronghold? We don't know for sure, but it would seem that it's in Mizpah, or at least in the land of Moab. We see here that David is friendly with Moab. Kind of goes along with the king from a few chapters ago, who from the Amalekite, that they recognized that David was going to be the king. We almost see that here, because the king agrees, it would seem, and his family, his mother and father, are allowed to stay there in Moab. We can also be reminded why else David might be friendly with Moab is because he is of Moabite descent. We're told that his great-grandmother was Ruth, who was a Moabite. She was from the land of Moab and came and married Boaz and all that stuff. And her great-grandson is David. So he, perhaps there's something there. Hey, I'm sort of your relative, or semi your relative. Can't you take care of my mom and dad for me for a while? Well, because for that matter, Jesse would have been the grandson of Ruth. He's only 2 generations removed from the land of Moab. And was able to stay there, and they're able to stay there. Continuing, then the prophet Gad said to David, "Do not remain in the stronghold. Do not stay there in Moab. Leave and go into the land of Judah." So David left and went into the forest of Hereth. Pause. So we see him moving around as he's fleeing, and he's gone from, presumably in Judah, over to Moab, and now he's going back to Judah, because the prophet Gad tells him to. We don't know a lot about the prophet Gad, but he does play a role in 2 Samuel. He is one of the prophets that serve under David, who serve as prophets. But the point here is that he's a prophet, a priest, or a prophet anyway, and he comes to David. So we're seeing the prophets supporting David. So who are we seeing support David so far? Well, we're seeing foreigners support David and recognizing him as the king, or going to be the king, being willing to do some kindnesses for him and take care of his family. We see him being supported by the priests, because the priest did that just in the last chapter, right? And now we see him being supported by a prophet He's also being supported by, you might say, the common people, or the ones on the outskirts, the ones being pushed down. So we're seeing David's popularity grow, his support, his base is increasing and widening and widening. So picking up from there, chapter 22, verse 6. Scene changes. We're not with David. We're going back to Saul, and we've been alerted. Chapter 21, we heard about Doeg the Edomite, and instantly ears kind of perked up. Ooh, bad guy, something's going to happen, right? But we're not quite prepared for exactly what is going to happen next. Picking up verse 6. Saul heard that David and those who were with him had been located. Saul was sitting at Gibeah under the tamarisk tree on the height, with his spear in his hand, and all his servants were standing around him. Saul said to his servants who stood around him, "Hear now, you Benjaminites. Will the son of Jesse give every one of you fields and vineyards? Will he make you all commanders of thousands and commanders of hundreds? Is that why all of you have conspired against me? No one discloses to me when my son makes a league with the son of Jesse. None of you is sorry for me or discloses to me that my son has stirred up my servant against me to lie in wait as he is doing today." Pause. Wow. So Saul is in his hometown, Gibeah, sitting under the tamarisk tree. Not only was Gibeah his hometown, but it served as the capital. And he's got his spear in his hand, which he seems to always have. And he gathers all of his servants and he addresses them as Benjaminites. So this seems to be his core group, his core servants and people, ones who are from his own tribe, his own family line, the ones that probably are, and certainly we would suspect are, the most faithful of his servants. And he calls them all there together, and he refers to them right off the bat as Benjaminites. And we think, okay, yeah, this is who he's talking to, something good. But immediately he's accusatory. We can see how his madness has grown. He has absolutely no proof of anything, but he's very accusatory right off the bat. Still won't refer to David by name. Will the son of Jesse give to all of you land and titles? Those were things that were customary by a king to give to their servants, especially in light of great deeds, so to speak. And they would give them titles and honors and promotions and land. We would presume, most likely accurately, that Saul has already done that for many, if not all of them. And he's reminding them, David is nothing. He has nothing. He can't give you anything. And yet you've all conspired against me. Wow. I mean, people that say the Bible is boring aren't reading the right parts, right? I mean, the drama in here, this is soap opera kind of stuff. This guy is crazy. This guy is crazy. No one discloses to me when my son makes a league, a covenant, this agreement, that agreement that Jonathan had with David against me, to lie in wait. Although we're not 100% sure, that certainly sounds like he thinks David is going to kill him, and that Jonathan is even conspired in this to lie in wait. That would be a term for waiting for that time that he could kill me. So he thinks David, maybe it's because he's trying to kill David, he thinks David's trying to kill him. This sets up something that happens a couple times in the next few chapters when David has the opportunity to kill Saul. But what happens? You're going to have to wait to find out. But all of these servants, he's accusing all of them of being up against him, and David wanting to kill him, and his son Jonathan being part of that conspiracy as well. Verse 9, Doeg the Edomite. This guy's coming back. I knew, right? That's what you're reading for the first time, hearing this for the first time. Doeg, okay, he was there. He was there. What's going to happen? Doeg the Edomite, who was in charge of Saul's servants, which is weird, remember, because he's from Edom. They don't normally like each other, but Saul has him integrated into it. He answered, I saw the son of Jesse coming to Nob, to Ahimelech, son of Ahitub. He inquired of Yahweh for him, gave him provisions, and gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine. Pause. Oops, we knew something was going to happen, right? So Doeg tells Saul what he saw. Now he does add one thing that wasn't in the story, right? We know that Ahimelech did give David provisions, did give him food, did give him the sword of Goliath. But Doeg also says that Ahimelech inquired of the Lord on his behalf. Well, which would mean that Ahimelech provided an oracle, spoke with God to give guidance to David, perhaps to find out if God was, in favor of what he was doing, that kind of stuff, right? Which would be common for a prophet for a priest to do. There's nothing wrong there. It didn't say it in the story in chapter 21, but Doeg adds it in here. But we're going to find out something about that in a minute. But the point is, Doeg has three charges against Ahimelech. The king sent for the priest Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, and for all his father's house, the priests who were at Nob, and all of them came to the king. Pause. Saul doesn't just want to talk to Ahimelech. He wants the whole gang there right in front of him. Saul said, listen now, son of Ahitub. Pause. He doesn't even want to use Ahimelech's name now. Right, son of Ahitub, maybe reminding him where he's at, what his status is. He answered, here I am, my lord. Proper answer, right, from the priest. And showing his faithfulness to the king in what he says. Saul said to him, why have you conspired against me, you and the son of Jesse, by giving him bread and a sword, and by inquiring of God for him, so that he has risen against me to lie in wait as he is doing today? Pause. So he repeats the three charges that Doeg had said Ahimelech did for David. One thing I forgot to mention too, the inquiring of God in the Hebrew is that Saul, which is the root for Saul's name, right? So he again says that lie in wait, accusing David of wanting to kill him. Then Ahimelech answered the king, who among all your servants is so faithful as David? He is the king's son-in-law and is quick to do your bidding and is honored in your house. Pause. The NRSV says quick to do your bidding. We're not even sure. It's probably in one of the old ancient texts, but it's not a very good one. The other captain of the bodyguard is how NIV translates it. It's what they put in there. That's probably a better translation. So he's king's son-in-law, the bodyguard, and is honored in your house. Is today the first time I have inquired of God for him? Pause. Aha. So although it wasn't in chapter 21, Ahimelech seems to indicate that he did, in fact, ask of Saul, God, on behalf of David. Continuing, by no means. Do not let the king impute anything to his servant or to any member of my father's house, for your servant has known nothing of all of this, much or little. Pause. So this defense by Ahimelech is a perfect defense. He begins by reminding Saul, David has been extremely faithful to you. This isn't the first time I've done these things on his behalf, because I would have gotten in trouble if I hadn't. And this is the first time I've heard anything about trouble between you and him. All of which are true. The king immediately, no discussion, no debate, nothing, right? Ready? You ready for it? The king said, "You shall surely die, Ahimelech, you and all your father's house." Pause. Wow. Wow. His madness is so great, he can't listen to reason. He won't discuss or debate it. He just wants to kill, and not just Ahimelech, but the whole family. Now, I'll pause. I'll save that one for a moment. The king said to the guard who stood around him, which would be plural guards, the guard who stood around him, "Turn and kill the priests of Yahweh, because their hand also is with David." He does mention his name. "They knew that he fled and did not disclose it to me." But the servants of the king would not raise their hand to attack the priests of Yahweh. Pause. So he tells his guards to turn and kill the priests. But the guards, although they've been loyal servants of the king and perhaps still are, they recognize this as madness. We're not going to go up against the priests of Yahweh. Far be that from us. We're not going to do that. This is insane. Then the king said to Doeg, "You, Doeg, turn and attack the priests." Doeg, the Edomite, turned and attacked the priests. On that day, he killed 85 who wore the linen ephod. Pause. So Doeg, being an Edomite, had no such restraint. He had no such disagreement. There was nothing to prevent him from attacking the priests of Yahweh, because Yahweh is not his God. And he doesn't care. He doesn't think anything of that, and immediately turns and kills 85 priests. Now, other places that number's been beefed up with tradition. One place is 305 or something like that. And Josephus, the historian, says it's like 395 priests. Let's just go with 85, or just say he killed a lot of priests. He killed all the priests, which ties back to the curse that Samuel had spoken for God upon Eli, that all of your family, all of your descendants, all your priests, except one. Now, we didn't see that yet, but we will. But continuing from verse 19, Nob, the city of the priests, he put to the sword men and women, children and infants, oxen, donkeys, and sheep. He put to the sword. So Doeg, now Saul didn't tell him to do that, at least not here in the passage, but perhaps Doeg took it upon himself to go to Nob, to the city, to the place where the priests were, and kill everyone there as well. Verse 20, but one of the sons of Ahimelech, son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. Abiathar told David that Saul had killed the priests of Yahweh. David said to Abiathar, "I knew on that day when Doeg the Edomite was there that he would surely tell Saul, I am responsible for the lives of all your father's house. Stay with me and do not be afraid, for the one who seeks my life seeks your life. You will be safe with me." Pause. End of chapter 22. So that completely fulfills that curse, that prediction by Samuel from much earlier in the book, back in chapter 3 or 4, whatever it was, when he told Eli that all of your family, all of your descendants will be cut off, except for one who will live with tears and grief, or something like that is what it says, which he does. He runs off, he escapes, and he goes to David. He goes to David and tells him everything that happens. Now, we see David's reaction much different than we see Saul's reaction at all at any point. David immediately accepts responsibility. David acts like a king. Anything that happens is my fault. It's, hey, this is my responsibility. I knew when I saw him there something bad was going to happen. I should have done something about it. And we were never told that David saw Doeg, but until now. And he makes this vow, this promise to protect Abiathar, and Abiathar does become one of, if not, becomes David's priest or one of his priests for the future. And he reminds him, he said, don't worry, you're going to be safe with me because the guy who wants me also wants you. So it's a little bit of a warning as well as a promise of protection. Okay, that's going to be it for today. We'll come back tomorrow with chapter 23. I know it's getting exciting too, right? All these wonderful stories. So my friends, I do pray that this has been beneficial to you, that you've learned something or relearned something in what we've read and said today, that God has spoken to you in some way. As you go about your days, not just today, but each and every day, keep those eyes and ears open, both spiritual and physical, to what our living, loving, active God is doing in your lives and in the lives of those around you. When you see it, when you hear it, say, thank you, God, and then tell somebody about it. Until we meet again, my friends, be blessed. Be blessed. Bye.